today takes us to Western Kenya. And here you will find many amazing sights. It is here that you will find the Kakamega forest, a forest which is said to be the remnant of an ancient vast forest that once spanned across the whole continent. Our story takes us to present-day Busia County. Bordering Kenya and Uganda, it is a beautiful county to look at, ever green and ever fresh. And from here, we go inwards towards Bunyala until we come to one of the villages. It is here that we meet Nahavuka. Let me tell you about this girl. Nahavuka was a beauty. Oh, her beauty was legendary. Her skin was soft, as if she always bathed it in milk. She had calves in all the right places, and her legs, her itidumbu, oh, they were the subject of many a village musician. When it came to housekeeping, Nahavuka was on a league of her own. It is said that she was capable of balancing a pot full of water all the way from River Nzoia and swing her hips back home, a distance of more than 3 kilometers away. She was a champion at keeping cleanliness in the compound. Oh, she could grind her grains, and she could also fetch firewood all the way from the forest. When it came to cooking, Nahavuka was on a league of her own. The aroma of her ovusuma vuovure, ugali made from millet flour, could be smelled all the way from the gate of her father's compound. And when it came to cooking engoho, chicken, she knew her job. She knew how to serve it as well. She knew who to give the emondo, the gizzard, who to give oluvaya, the wing, lest it be said that she was not well versed with the culture of her people. These characteristics gave her many suitors. They came from the different clans of the Avanyala and even from the Avasamia community. It is said that even the king of the Baganda himself came to ask for Nahavuka's hand in marriage, but she did not even give him audience. Munana was one of those suitors who wanted Nahavuka's hand in marriage. He came from the nearby Avasamia clan, and he was not just handsome, good to look at, and well built, but he was also a champion wrestler. He really wanted to win Nahavuka over for marriage, because that is what this was for him, a competition where he had to emerge the winner. And who knows, marrying an industrious woman like Nahavuka would give him even more fame in the community, and the elders might even see it that they could give him a leadership position. And so, he began to make every opportunity possible to meet up with Nahavuka, waiting for her along the way when she was going to the river to fetch water. Waiting for her when she was going to fetch firewood. Looking at her when she was going to the market, offering to help her. At first, Nahavuka took it for kindness. But when she realized what his intentions were, she began avoiding him with a quick shake of her hands, a quick smile, a polite no. But when she realized that he was not taking a no for an answer, she began to go out of her way to just avoid him. But why was Nahavuka refusing suitors? Men old and young, men who would give an arm and a foot to have her as a wife? Oh, Nahavuka was in love. Yes, she only had eyes for one man, a young man whose name was Sumba. Sumba was not the most handsome young man. In fact, he was quite average in his looks. But what he lacked in looks, he made it up with his kind heart and his hard work. And Nahavuka had promised him that she would wait until he had enough dowry. And then he could go to her father and ask for her hand in marriage. When Munana realized that his advances were not being reciprocated, he became very angry. How could she, Nahavuka, refuse to get married to him? Was he not the famous Munana, the champion wrestler? I mean, didn't he stand out from everyone else with his glistening muscles and his good looks? But he was not about to give up. He decided to use a different strategy. He sent emissaries to Nahavuka's parents, asking for the hand of their daughter in marriage. Nahavuka's parents were excited at the prospect of this marriage. Munana was known all over Bunyala as a champion wrestler, and moreover, he came from a well-off family, and this meant that he could afford a good dowry for their daughter. This, the parents thought, also meant that their child and their grandchildren would never go hungry or beg for food. Yes, they thought this would be an excellent choice of husband. Munana did not want to take any risks. Using his relatives, he hurried the marriage process. In fact, sweetening the deal by promising to pay a huge herd of cattle as dowry. Nahavuka was devastated. She did not know what she was going to do. She went to her mother and spoke to her, asking her to speak to the father and request him to rethink this whole engagement thing. But the mother was not hearing any of it.
Mama, sindaha mahubaka umunana.
Nahavuka, stop behaving like a spoiled child. You are rejecting suitors left, right, and center. Do you want to grow old in your mother's compound? But Nahavuka explained herself.
Mama,
it is not every other suitor that I do not want. It is Munana. He has terrible manners. He is arrogant and he's bragging all the time. And mother, I don't like the way he looks at me. Like I am some piece of meat or some kind of property. Omwana, what is wrong with you? Eh? Why would he not brag? Is he not good looking? Is he not famous? Is he not rich? Come on, my child. With your good looks, you will give beautiful grandchildren to your father and I. The mother tried to say. But mother, Nahavuka tried to explain herself again. No buts. I know he is said to have a wandering eye. And yes, I also know that many pregnancies of unwed girls here in the village have been blamed on him. But my child, none of this has ever been proven. Nahavuka did not know what to do, and she decided to go and speak to her father herself and see if he could change his mind about this marriage. You see, Nahavuka's father had thought that Munana was quite a good match for his daughter. But when he saw the pain in the daughter's eyes and realized that she did not want to have anything to do with him, he thought and said, Omuhana wange, you know I love you very much. And I wish that your mother and I had listened to your protests much earlier. My girl, the marriage process has already begun, and I cannot go back on my word. For I will be seen as a man who cannot keep his promise to the young man. I cannot do anything about this. If you are sure you do not want to get married to Munana, you, my girl, you, Nahavuka, you know what to do. Indeed, she knew what she could do. According to the Bunyala tradition, it was custom for the bride and groom to wrestle before the marriage was made official. Yes, the wrestling would mean one thing: that the man was strong and brave enough to protect the family and also the community. And it could also mean something else: that the woman was willing to submit to the man for all their married days. If the bride failed the groom during the wrestling, then she would not marry him. She would go back to her father's house and wait for a man who was strong enough to wrestle her. A few months later, as was practice, Nahavuka packed a basket full of gifts and set off to go and visit Munana. This was not just any other ordinary visit, nor was it a courtesy call. No, the traditional marriage process had already been done, and only one ritual remained: the wrestling competition. Nahavuka was accompanied by her younger sister, for the wrestling match was only attended by people from the groom's side and not the bride's relatives. Nahavuka's younger sister had come, as tradition dictated, to act as some kind of overseer. She was supposed to watch and see and report if there was any unfair judgment that happened. When they arrived there, a whole crowd had already gathered to watch. You see, the premarital wrestling event was a favorite of many people, and rumors of Nahavuka's pending visit had spread already. Oh, rumors had also spread that Munana was not Nahavuka's first choice of a husband, and the people knew that this wrestling competition would be dramatic, just to say the least. And when the match began, Nahavuka fought as if her life depended on it. And it did not. For if she lost this particular fight, she would be forced to live with a man who she despised for the rest of her days. From the sidelines, the spectators cheered their favorite candidate. Well, is it not said that it is not the size of a person that matters, but the size of fight in them? And that how fast a person runs depends on what is chasing them? Nahavuka fought for all she was worth. With a twist of an arm and a flip of her foot, knocked Munana down, and he lay there, unbelieving, flat on his back. The crowd was shocked. How could Munana, a champion wrestler, bring shame to the whole community? This had never been heard before. In fact, it was only told as if of tales of very long ago. As for Nahavuka, she did not wait to see what would happen next. She quickly picked her gifts, put them back in the basket, held her sister's hand, and together they walked away in haste, going back to her father's home. Munana could not believe what was happening. He was so embarrassed. How could he face the other men after having been failed by a woman? Oh, he decided to cover his shame by telling his friends and other young men from his clan that Nahavuka had used ovulosi, witchcraft, on him, and that they should punish this evil woman who was determined to bring the masculinity of the whole Avasamia community into shame. Even though retaliation after losing a wrestling match was a taboo, they decided to eliminate these exhibits of their shame. They armed themselves with bows and arrows, and they pursued the two girls, catching up with them as they were crossing over the Nzoia River. Now, the Avasamia are very well known for their hunting skills, and Munana used this skill to his advantage. His arrow pierced Nahavuka right through the heart. Munana's arrow killed Nahavuka instantly. Her younger sister managed to escape by diving into the river and holding her breath under the water. When Munana and his friends quickly scanned around and could not see her, they decided to run back to their home, lest someone suspect them of the crime. And after they had left, the younger sister came out of her hiding place and ran back home to give the bad news to the family. Nahavuka's clan reacted immediately. It was considered cowardly to kill women and children even in battle. That the Avasamia had chosen to take a celebration and turn it into mourning meant just one thing. This was a declaration for war. Arming themselves for war, the Avanyala community set towards the Avasamia people. They chased anybody they found on the way, chasing Munana and his troop. Oh, fearing the worst, Munana and his friends climbed up the hills. But the Avanyala clan followed them all the way up. It is said that Munana was killed at present-day River Munana. And the Avasamia, afraid of any more attacks from the Avanyala people, went and lived at present-day Samia Hills. Wow. Traditionally, someone who dies by a river or in water is buried next to a river. And so, Nahavuka was to be buried next to River Nzoia. It was also common among the Avanyala community that the dead could send messages about their wishes through a living person, and it was no different for her. After 3 days of vigil, she sent word through her younger sister that she was to be buried within her father's compound. This was unheard of. Unmarried women were never buried within their parents' compound, but rather buried outside the father's compound. The elders could not hear of it. It was a taboo, they insisted, and it would definitely not happen. But Nahavuka was as stubborn in death as she was in life. 4 days after her burial on the banks of River Nzoia, the villagers were shocked to wake up and find that her grave was split open. She was buried again, but the very next morning, the grave was wide open. Yes, Nahavuka had her wishes even in death, for she was taken and buried within her father's compound at the exact spot where the younger sister indicated as she had been instructed. Finally, Nahavuka's spirit had agreed to be laid to rest. Sumba was devastated. He was heartbroken, and he swore that he would marry Nahavuka even in death. And so they say that all days of his life, he lived as an Omusumba, an unmarried man, until he breathed his last. In remembrance of Nahavuka, her clan, the Avamahia, and Sumba's clan, Avahone, always wrestle to this very day. And during this whole week of celebration, everybody goes out of their way to show kindness, extra love to everybody they met, whether friend or stranger. Villagers do not fight. And people and families that had broken up made each and every effort to reconcile their differences. For it is said, that if anyone broke this rule, Nahavuka's wrath would fall upon them, and they would get calamities like diseases, loss of wealth, and even death. So they say. So, if you find yourself in Western Kenya, please go out and sample the many different cultural events that you find in this region. Immerse yourself in the culture, whether it is the bullfighting, the Kamabeka and Isikuti dances, the Tiriki circumcision ceremony, and if you dare, toss yourself in the wrestling ring. And if you're not able to travel to Western Kenya, come here to the Bomas of Kenya, and here you will experience different cultures of the Abaluya people.